Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This will be a Raid Shadow Legends video, but in a different style today. Today we're going to look at how much of an effect has Diablo Immortal had on Raid. Is Diablo Immortal actually killing off the Raid player base right now? And it's probably like, how are you qualified to even answer that? Well, I used to be a sales director before I became a content creator. Within that kind of role, I had to formulate plans, look at statistics, look at analytics, and then present back my plan, my team's plan, to a board of directors and basically get it signed off and implemented. You know, I set up brand new divisions in blue chip companies in a brand new market and pushed it to multi-million-pound revenue within 12 months. Yeah, I'd done stuff in the real world outside of doing this. And actually, as part of my role in hellhades.com, one of the things we do is we actually look at a lot of analytics. We track the way the game is performing. We track the way the website is performing. I track the way my analytics are performing on my YouTube channel, my streams, and I make sure that we are ahead of the curve when it comes to knowing what the hell is going on. So this video is going to be a bit of a deep dive into the analytics of both games and see how that kind of crossover is affecting Raid. Let's go. So when I do this type of deep dive, I look at a number of different elements. I'm looking at statistics on mobile downloads, mobile top grossing type of stuff, which we'll start with today. I then look at my YouTube channel. I compare myself to other YouTube channels, not just Raid creators, but other genres as well, just to kind of see how well my channel is faring. I look at my stream analytics compared to the whole kind of Raid Shadow Legends stream analytics. And then I look at all of the kind of basic information from our website analytics around graphs and stuff like that. So I'm going to take you on that deep dive today. As I say, a really different video to what I'd normally do. But I think it's quite interesting when a game like Diablo Immortal hits the scene, which kind of touches on your gaming genre a bit. And there's a whole load of comments of, you know, Diablo's killing Raid, all this type of stuff. And, you know, let's be fair, Blizzard, you know, AAA rated game designers versus Plarium that probably people haven't heard of unless they play Raid. It's quite a big eye-opener when you see some of the stats. So I find this stuff interesting. I hope you find it interesting as well. I always start big and drill down. Okay, so first, top charts, yeah, best overall for free, paid downloads, and then top grossing. And if we look for Diablo Immortal and we look for Raid, basically Diablo Immortal is already coming in as 41st top free downloads. Raid is like a long way down, but I don't even know if we see Raid on this front page. I don't think we do, no. But Raid is not a top 100 free download. If we look at top grossing, Diablo Immortal already top 10 and Raid is top 13 of all stuff that you could download in an app store or on an Android. So that's pretty nuts. Yeah, we're talking anything. And already top 10 Diablo Immortal, which means they are making bank big time. If we then break it down more towards the kind of gaming genre, role-playing games, in terms of free downloads, Diablo Immortal already number 1, and Raid is sitting at number 11. And in terms of getting paid, yeah, are these apps doing enough to get themselves some cash in the bank? Diablo Immortal is already straight up there number 1. And I'll tell you now, because I look at this stuff a lot, Raid has been number 1 pretty much exclusively for the last 2 years. So is Diablo Immortal affecting Raid? We kind of come on to that in a minute. So I don't personally feel like Diablo Immortal attracts the same players as Raid. I think there's a bit of a crossover. I don't feel like it's the exact same player base. But it is interesting that Raid has lost its top spot for the first time really since I've been looking at this data. And Diablo Immortal's been out for like, what, a couple of weeks. So if we drill down another layer and we look at, well, how much does Raid actually make on a monthly basis? And is this kind of different from what I've seen in the past? So Raid on, what's this one? This is on Apple, has made 8 million this month, or month just gone. On Android, it made 11 million. And that doesn't include all of the money it makes directly through Plarium Play. So we're talking a 20 million revenue growth or revenue gain in May for Raid. Raid so far, you know, people are saying Raid is dying, Raid is struggling. If my business was struggling on 20 million, I'd be pretty comfortable. considering so much of their revenue will come through player in play. At least I reckon double what they get through mobile. So I think they're making a good 30 plus million per month revenue through the game. And we know that Raid heavily invest on marketing. They invest about a third of their revenue back into marketing. There is a heavy investment back into the game to draw new players. And we've seen that with recent kind of stuff they're doing with Deliana and the stuff they did in the past with Ninja. But yeah, that's a pretty healthy revenue growth. Now, Diablo, because it's too new, I can't actually get their numbers. So I've looked for numbers elsewhere. But we know that Diablo make more than Raid, okay? We know that. And on both kind of elements, it doesn't give me the info. So yeah, I went digging. I don't know quite how accurate some of this stuff is because it's literally just on the interwebs. So we can't believe everything you see on the interwebs. But saying here, Diablo Immortal made $800,000 in its first 24 hours. After 5 days, it had already made over $6 million. And, you know, we're seeing all sorts of obscene numbers coming out of Diablo Immortal. Almost like if we thought Raid was a pay-to-win game, Diablo Immortal's kind of dialed that up tenfold. And interestingly, Diablo Immortal is easily Blizzard's best performing franchise, like in terms of from launch in history. And Blizzard have had massive titles, yeah, despite being the company's worst user-reviewed game. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys follow some of the big YouTubers like Asmongold. I mean, he's been all over crucifying this thing. And, you know, there's a whole bunch of people that have been slating the approach from Blizzard, you know, in terms of the cash side of it, which it shocks me how heavy they've pushed the monetization in that game when it was already going to be a success. They've pushed it to a level which has just given them insanely bad press. You know, if we think that Raid can get bad press sometimes, Diablo Immortal have said, Raid, we'll see ya and we'll trump ya, like big time. So it's interesting to see that sort of approach. So if we then look at the category rankings and perhaps throw in some other games that you might have heard of, and this is always an interesting one for me because I like to see how Raid's performing versus other games. Yeah, so if I just look at the last few days here, and this is for, let me just check what we've got here. This is for Android, role-playing games, and this is the free chart. So people that have just downloaded the game as a free-to-player. Yeah, so you've got Diablo Immortal is performing as rank 1, both as a new free game and as a free game. You've got Raid is sitting in there at 10. Marvel Strike Force is actually in there at 6. And Dislike, which a few people have said to me, you know, you're going to try it. I did do a mini kind of promo for it, and it felt like a cool game. But Dislike coming in at number 14. So Raid is still up there top 10 as a free game, but it's not kind of like ruling the world, whereas Diablo kind of is. And if we look at top grossing here, Diablo 1, Raid 2, Dislike in there at 5. Awakened Chaos Era, remember when I did this video last time around in January? And I was a bit, in fact, you can see the spike of Awakened Chaos Era. It kind of went up. And I was like, wow, this might actually be a game that is going to try and compete with Raid. But it's fallen straight off again. Like it's now sitting there at number 40, which is reasonable. But it's definitely not like, you know, fighting for the Raid top spot, which Raid has held on to for a long time. Dislike is sitting there in there at number 5. That is one to kind of take note of. You know, May the 9th it kicked in. It's kind of doing what Awakened Chaos Era did back in January. So interesting to see if it manages to hold on and actually get some momentum. I've definitely seen a lot of Dislike advertising. So, and you know, these type of games, you've got to advertise to get the interest, which Raid does really well. But you can kind of see that Raid now sitting firmly behind Diablo Immortal, but still sitting in second place. And then just to round off this section, I thought this was quite an interesting page, actually. Plarium as a group. So Plarium, we know this is just looking at the Apple side, but we know the Android numbers as well. Basically, Aristocrat Technologies, who own Plarium, made 83 million in May. And of that, we know that Raid is worth, it's probably about 30% of their revenue a month. Raid Shadow Legends, 30% roughly of Aristocrat's revenue per month. Which is nuts, by the way. Which is nuts. So if anyone thinks, you know, Aristocrat, they're kind of going to let Raid die off, they would be insane to do that. They would be absolutely bonkers if they thought that was going to be the right approach for their business when it is such a big revenue driver. One of the other things that was interesting to me, though, so Mech Arena, which I've not played, Mech Arena is actually getting the same sort of downloads in a month that Raid is. And, you know, this is just the Apple side. But if we look at Raid's downloads, 300,000 on Apple and 700,000 on Android. That doesn't include the player in play stuff. So we're still getting like 1 million plus new users per month for Raid, which is, again, a big number. So the next thing I like to do, I like to look at my stuff personally and see how my channel is doing, how my streams are doing, how the website is doing. So, you know, Hell Hades, anyone can go and look at socialblade.com. You can look at any YouTuber you like here and kind of get a feel of their stats. Yeah, so, and I like to look at some of this stuff. Like, for example, in the country, I am currently, what am I? I'm ranked 1175, but there are 6,000 channels bigger than my channel in UK, which is quite fun to know. Anyway, Social Blade kind of rank different YouTube channels. They kind of go through it and they give you stats. This is the bit that I like to look at. The zoom out feel of how is my channel doing? Am I still in a decent spot? Has my channel plateaued? Has my channel kind of still got growth to go? And I feel like, yeah, this is a pretty steady growth curve or growth line since I started my channel back in November 19. And this is my views that I get per month. And you'll see it dipped off here, which pretty much falls in line with when Ukraine were invaded. Obviously, Plarium was a Ukraine-based business, and you know there was a time where it was incredibly tough, and we didn't really know the future of Raid. And honestly, like that was never in my mindset that this could be a thing that would derail my future, my business. That a country invading another country in an obscene act of war would be the thing that put me in jeopardy. Like, it never crossed my mind for a second. So you can kind of see how something completely left field that you can't really account for suddenly could become huge in your life. But anyway, that was this kind of dip here. But overall, pretty happy, and my subscriber count still growing at a decent level. So that's cool. I remember when I looked at this last time, I like to do some comparisons. Raid were actually getting Shadow Legends main channel started to get more views than I did, which was the first time I'd ever seen it. Now we're kind of a little bit hit and miss, you know, 50-50 kind of thing. They do the odd big one, and this is kind of cool. Like, they do these advertising levels, like this video here, where they just get millions of views, and obviously they pay to do that. But it's quite interesting to see how they are approaching their advertising. Now, these Jeff Goldblum ones, I spoke about it in the last video like this, I did, but you know, Jeff Goldblum's a big name to bring onto your ads and to bring into your kind of campaign. So that was always a positive thing for me to see. I like to also look at me versus other YouTubers. Yeah, and I like to just kind of see, because you would assume that everyone that you've heard of will just do better than you do. Yeah, that's kind of like the assumption. So I thought, well, you know what, for a bit of fun, we have a look at Ninja. And this is Ninja's YouTube channel. He's got nearly 24 million subscribers. Ninja. He was, go back 6 months, he was the big kind of campaign for Raid in terms of a new character in the game. His YouTube channel on a monthly basis getting 4.5-ish million versus my 3.2 million. I'm not really that far behind Ninja in terms of views per month. And, you know, he puts out videos pretty consistently. So, Asmongold. Asmongold is actually someone who puts out a lot more videos even than I do. And I put out a lot of videos. Asmongold gets about 30 times my views per month on 1.4 million subscribers. That is honestly mental. But he does put out so many videos. Basically, his streams are a lot of him looking at stuff, reacting what's going on, reacting to whatever he wants to, puts it out as a video, and his videos do incredibly well. And actually, I mean, I've watched a few of them recently. I watched a really cool one where he was talking about the fall of Ninja's channel and career. And, you know, he's very objective with it. And actually, I thought he'd done a really good job of kind of balancing both sides. But yeah, what a crazy number that is. 98 million views. I looked at Senpai Gaming just because I know, or I used to watch a lot of Harris Heller, and I was like, I'd be interested to see how he does. He does less than 1 million views in a month. Fogged, who actually plays Raid, and you know, we kind of bumped into each other through him getting sponsored by Raid and then playing it. But I'm a big League of Legends fan, and I like to go and watch some of his streams. So he's getting about 1/10 of my views in a month. I was surprised. I thought it'd be a lot more, but then he doesn't upload tons of videos. And then Mtash is another one who's kind of like cross paths with us in Raid. And Mtash, I just kind of see as a massive, massive person in the kind of community space that we play in. He's a Genshin Impact YouTuber generally, but he does a bunch of other stuff as well. But yeah, Mtash, similar level to me in terms of views, even though he's got considerably more subscribers. There would have been a time where he would have got way more views than me when Genshin was absolutely like flying, but still interesting to look at, I think. So let's go on and consider then streaming stats. And this is an interesting one. So I looked at, this is Twitch Tracker. Again, you can go in and look at any of this stuff if you want to. I put in Raid Shadow Legends as a game. And then I was basically looking at, you know, how many channels are there? So, you know, average of 40 channels through the last few months. What's the average kind of number of viewers over 7 days? 1,000. And you can kind of see here on this graph how Raid has kind of peaked and then peaked. And basically, it's been able to maintain a decent level of viewership, albeit it's dropped off since this kind of ninja peak back here in July. But still maintaining a decent level. If I was to look for Diablo Immortal in the same sort of stats, let's do it over. Oh, it's not going to be good, is it? Over 7 days. So Diablo Immortal is, I mean, 25 times bigger than Raid in terms of viewers on streams. 25 times bigger. Obviously, it's a new game, so it's going to get that kind of buzz around a new game, but still, that is an insane. It's actually ranked number 21 out of all games being streamed. What was Raid's? Raid's 174. It's not even that bad, really. But yeah, it kind of gives you a feel. You know, it's Diablo versus Raid. Raid just doesn't attract the same number of eyes. Nowhere near the same number of eyes that Diablo Immortal would. Then if I look at my kind of performance generally, you know, I can kind of just look at... This was something which I was concerned about when I did the last video, because it looked to me like there was a bit of a downturn in number of people just generally watching Raid. And in terms of my performance, I've actually seen generally quite good growth in the recent times. So, you know, my viewership generally is now hitting towards 1,000, whereas before it was kind of somewhere around 700. And my peak views is going up. So generally feels like, I think the Deliana push, which has happened over recent times, has really pushed up the level of players in Raid. That kind of advertising campaign alongside the Deliana push, which actually dropped at a similar time to Diablo Immortal, has meant that Raid, for me, has been seeing more players than ever. Like I've seen so many new players coming onto my videos and onto my comments and stuff. It's been huge. The last thing I want to look at then is the website. Hellhades.com. It's actually ranked like top 20 websites in the world over all genres, which is nuts, by the way. So you can just kind of look here over the last, what's this, like 12 months, number of users and event counts has steadily just been increasing. Not by a lot, but it is an increasing curve or line. Same sort of thing over more recent times. So new users, this is a really interesting one. This is where Deliana dropped and that massive advertising campaign, but it's also where Diablo Immortal dropped, and we did a few posts on Diablo and it just pumped hard on our channel. So on our website. But you can kind of see new users has been pretty steady, but in growth. Users versus new users here as well, steady and in growth over the last few months. With some, you never just get a straight line of growth. It's always this kind of like rocky line. So this is a really healthy growth line. Users, again, everything here is just absolutely growing. And one thing that's worth just kind of pointing out, you know, when the issue or the war, I'm not calling it an issue, it's a war between Russia and Ukraine kicked off February 24th, I believe. Yeah, February 24th. I mean, you can just spot it. It's over all of the time that the website has been active, which is starts here. You can just see that, let's make it even bigger. You can see that the website has always had a growth of events, event traffic, users, except for this period here. And this is basically to the date when the war kicked off. Like, it's unbelievable how much, you know, real world events can affect something like this. And, you know, what a credit to Raid and the team there to have bounced it back after the kind of hardship that they've been through in that time. So I guess in summary, Diablo Immortal has taken that top spot, and it is absolutely driving players, revenue, traffic, all of that type of good stuff. But at the same time, Raid continues to grow. Raid continues to be a growing game. And, you know, if I'm looking at this from a conclusion from my business point of view, we're still pretty happy with decisions that we're making. Doesn't mean that we don't look at other options, by the way. We're constantly looking at what else is coming in the market and whether we should have some sort of, you know, presence in those things. But as it stands right now, we're still all over Raid Shadow Legends, and a credit to Raid to continue to grow this game month after month after month. And, you know, in an obscene type of way, be really profitable about it as well. Anyway, guys, I've been Hell Hades. I will see you later.